And now we move on to the main event, Charles Oliveira versus Islam Makhachev, and Bia has decided to stick along for the main event. She's excited for this fight as hard as you are, because this poor dog is going to have to wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning for when I wake up to watch this fight card. It's sad day for Bia. Maybe she'll have to sleep elsewhere. She normally sleeps on my bed, but since I'm getting up at 3 a.m, maybe she wouldn't want to do that. But I'm picking Charles Oliveira to win the matchup, man. I really do see a path to victory for both guys. Like, I'm not some crazy Charles Oliveira fanboy, which I am, but I do see a path to victory for both guys. I feel like if Islam Makhachev's gonna win, it's gonna be with the wrestling, because I feel like Oliveira's got him covered kind of everywhere else, and I think you kind of got to agree with me in that one there. Oliveira, in my opinion, is the better striker out of the matchup, and he's definitely got the better pure jiu-jitsu in the matchup as well. But what Islam Makhachev brings to the table is really good wrestling base, and a good ability to stay on top of fighters, control them, and ground and pound them. But the fighters that he's looking really good against in his last couple of fights are Dan Hooker, who fought him on like 2 weeks' notice after fighting Nasrat Haqparast, a pure boxer, and Bobby Green, who fought him on like 2 weeks' notice. I think less than that, actually. In fact, I think it was like 5 days' notice. And he fought Nasrat Haqparast before then too. Like, it was just he's been looking really good. He's been dominating these strikers that are fighting him on short notice, you know what I mean? And in the past, fighters that have been fighting him that are good grapplers, I think Bia is slipping off. Maybe she wants to get off, I don't know. But the fighters that have been fighting Islam Makhachev, the good grapplers, they're looking pretty good. Like, he fought Thiago Moises. It took 4 rounds for Thiago Moises to get finished by Islam Makhachev. You know what I mean? Because he had prepared for that matchup. Drew Dober, it took 3 rounds for Islam Makhachev to finish him, and he dominated that fight. Took Drew Dober down in the first round, took him down in the second round, and eventually got a submission in the third round after a very dominant performance. But that's what I'm seeing out of Islam Makhachev. I feel like guys that are preparing for Islam Makhachev and guys that are somewhat good on the ground, they're not necessarily giving Islam Makhachev trouble, but they're definitely stifling his game enough to where I feel like someone like Charles Oliveira, who unanimously among the MMA community has some of the best MMA jiu-jitsu in the UFC right now, definitely in the lightweight division for sure, and also he's got really good striking, you know what I mean? Like, you watch that Justin Gaethje fight, and he gets dropped a couple of times. In my opinion, though, the second time that Charles Oliveira got dropped, and it was a very delayed knockdown, I think Charles Oliveira got hit, and then he just fell back, like, on purpose to maybe see if Gaethje was going to follow him, because I don't think he was that hurt. But Oliveira was getting dropped, he was getting hurt. And one thing that I really don't like about the Gaethje fight for Oliveira either is that he got cut so early into the fight. And I feel like maybe if Islam Makhachev ends up on top of Charles Oliveira and opens up a big cut in the first round, I feel like that could really pay dividends for Islam Makhachev moving forward in the fight. So I can see Islam Makhachev winning the fight with the wrestling, but I don't see the fight going that way. I feel like Charles Oliveira's got this one. I feel like his pressure on the feet is going to be too much. I know Islam Makhachev's a pressure fighter as well, so it'll be interesting to see who pressures who. And I think whoever gets the respect on the feet to start the fight is going to be the one that's potentially dictating who pressures who. Because if Islam Makhachev is forced to respect Charles Oliveira's stand-up, he's going to probably start getting on the back foot, and Charles Oliveira is going to be able to walk him down like he did to, he didn't really do it to Justin Gaethje in that fight. There was a lot of clinching, but he's going to walk him down like he has done to opponents in the past. I think maybe Dustin Poirier is a pretty good example of that one there. Charles Oliveira, though, you watch that fight against Justin Gaethje, he's got really good clinch work as well. He was kneeing Justin Gaethje in the clinch. When he was getting close, he was throwing elbows. He was even trying to pull a standing guillotine on Justin Gaethje in the middle of the cage as well, which is interesting. And a lot of things, something that people don't bring up, and Islam Makhachev fans, you cannot deny this. This is just a fact that I'm about to bring up here. After Islam Makhachev got knocked out by Adriano Martins, he was meant to fight Drew Dober in the next year, and he was pulled from that event. Makhachev tested positive for banned substance at weigh-ins. And people don't talk about this enough. He's a juicer. And I feel like maybe he could be on the sauce for this matchup because it's in Dubai. He's going to have the State Athletic Commission on his side, so I guess you could get a little bit of conspiracy theories there. And another little theory maybe for Islam Makhachev. Everyone's talking about Charles Oliveira potentially struggling to make the weight because he He didn't weigh in at 155 on the dot in Arizona, Justin Gaethje's home state, by the way. Even though he weighed at 155 flat on the scales, there's a photo of him doing it too, in this hotel room. Islam Makhachev I don't think that Islam Makhachev has weighed in 155 on the dot in his career. He's always weighed in at 155.5, 156. The last fight was a catch weight, but it was Bobby Green that wanted the catch weight, so I won't take that away from him there. But that's another thing. Islam Makhachev's getting his title shot off of short notice win over Bobby Green. It just occurred to me. What? Oh my goodness. Yeah, Charles Oliveira. I think he's fought the better competition, and that's the thing. I feel like you've got to look. You can look at Islam Makhachev's dominant performances over Bobby Green and Dan Hooker all you want, because he did dominate those fights. He really did. But you've got to look at the fight against Thiago Moises, where Thiago Moises even took Islam Makhachev down, and it took 4 rounds for Islam Makhachev to get a finish in that one there. You've got to look at the fight against Drew Dober. Although dominant, Drew Dober was able to survive in his guard for 3 rounds, you know what I mean? Like, he's dominating these guys that aren't preparing for him, but the fighters that are preparing for him are looking good, and I know for a fact that Charles Oliveira is going to be prepared for this matchup, you know what I mean? And another thing is, I think that Islam Makhachev might be overlooking Charles Oliveira in this matchup too. Islam Makhachev and his team, his delusional team with Khabib and Ali Abdelaziz, are saying, Charles Oliveira is scared to fight me. So Charles Oliveira, what does he do? He signs the paperwork. He signs to fight Islam Makhachev. Charles Oliveira won't fight me in Dubai. Charles Oliveira signs the paperwork. They're fighting in Dubai. You know what I mean? Like, Charles Oliveira's not scared of this dude. And I feel like after Charles Oliveira wins this one, if he does win this one, Oliveira deserves a fight in Brazil, man. I feel like maybe if he takes no damage, we could see him at UFC 283. I think maybe the UFC's holding on to some hope that potentially that happens. Oliveira versus Gamrot, UFC 283, could be a pretty awesome matchup. But I think maybe if Islam Makhachev wins, though, it could be pretty bad for the UFC. Because if you look at Khabib Nurmagomedov's run, he defended his belt 3 times, I think, in 3 different years. He fought once a year, holding up the entire division. And you've really got to hope Islam Makhachev doesn't do the same thing. He's been pretty active, which you can respect. He's fought 5 times in 3 years. Okay, that's bad in instance. But he's fought 4 times, in the year and a half. That's kind of what is inferring as an activity. But hopefully he doesn't do what Khabib does if he wins the title and fight once a year, holding up the entire division and kind of giving this false illusion that people don't want to fight him. Because if people didn't want to fight Islam Makhachev, Dan Hooker wouldn't have fought him on short notice. Bobby Green wouldn't have fought him on short notice. RDA wouldn't have called him out, and then Islam Makhachev wouldn't have ducked at him. You know what I mean? Like, it's a weird fight. I'm picking Charles Oliveira to win. I'm pretty confident in it too, by the way. I just like the fact that we've seen Oliveira fight so much higher levels of competition here and look pretty good against them. You know, like, he looked really good against Dustin Poirier. He didn't look amazing against Michael Chandler, but he got the finish in the second round, which is always pretty good. And he looked great against Justin Gaethje. I feel like Charles Oliveira is just a very underrated fighter and underestimated in this matchup. I know it's a nightmare matchup for Oliveira, but at the same time, it's also a nightmare matchup for Islam Makhachev because he's fighting a better striker and he's fighting a better grappler as well. Charles Oliveira is just fighting a really good wrestler that's very heavy on top and has good ground and pound. So maybe if Charles Oliveira can avoid the ground and pound, can avoid maybe, like, if he can stay safe on bottom or even throw up submissions on bottom as well, and that's not really his style, his jiu-jitsu style. But I think it's such a good fight. It's going to be a great fight. You know what I mean? I feel like you just got to go with Olives, though. You know what I mean? He's just looking like a different level here. And I like him. I like his activity, too. You know, the thing about Charles Oliveira is he won the belt against Chandler a year and 4 months ago, defended it 6 months later, so he took a little bit of time off. But he took damage in that fight, which makes sense. And then he fought 5 months later against Justin Gaethje, and he's going to fight 5 months later against Charles Oliveira, against Islam Makhachev. And if he doesn't take too much damage in this fight here, we could see him fight potentially in another 4 months in Brazil. Man, I love Charles Oliveira. I think he's going to get it done, guys. I think he's going to get a finish. I think he's going to finish Islam Makhachev, and I think he's going to do it within, like, 3 rounds. I don't think Oliveira's going to win a decision. If someone's going to win a decision, it's going to be Makhachev. I'm going to be picking Oliveira to win the fight. Man, it's a good one. I can't wait. I can't believe he's such an underdog too. Oh, what a great fight.